السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يعطيكم العافية جميعا. I'm Mohammed Arusan, current president of the CIG Yarmouk University. Today we will have a session with the Dr. Obadah Aqtash. He's an interventional and structural cardiologist at Heart Place in Plano, Dallas. It's a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Obadah, and the coordinator for this session will be Dr. Muhammad Al-Aqdah. He's the vice president of the CIG for this term, and Dr. Lejain, she's the medical education team officer and leader. Thank you for being generous with your knowledge and time, Dr. Obadah, with being with us today. The outline of today's session will be that we have prepared questions for Dr. Obadah, and he will answer these questions. Then we'll move to questions that you sent on Instagram box. And at the end of this session, you can ask either on the chat or either on the, you can open the mic and asking Dr. Obadah directly. Before passing the mic for Dr. Obadah, if you may allow me to say, to start the session with some things. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير معلم الناس الخير سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم دلنا عليك، فهمنا عنك، علمنا منك، أرشدنا إليك. اللهم لا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا ولا إلى النار مصيرنا. اللهم نصرك القريب العاجل لإخواننا في غزة. Dr. Obadah, welcome here, and you have the mic.
Wallahi, yani, thank you for this kind introduction. I think this is the second time you guys invite me, and I really appreciate every time yani, you guys invite me. I've seen what kind of work you have done since we met at ACC. It's something to be very proud of. Mu'min being president last year, and now you being president, starting off with a high note. Allah yiftah alaykum, inshallah we just see you grow more and more.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Obadah. We are really excited to have you with us today. Welcome, everyone. أنا محمد القضاء, senior medical student at Yarmouk University and the vice president. Dr. Obadah, are you ready to start?
Yeah.
To break the ice, how would you describe yourself away from being a cardiologist?
Oh, okay. When I'm not a cardiologist, I'm like any other ordinary guy. I once I leave the hospital and I forget I'm a physician. Aslan, I just like any other person. I like to go out, play soccer, hang out with my friends, meet my family. I don't even like for people to acknowledge that I'm a physician outside of the hospital. When I meet new people, I never tell them I'm a physician actually. Even if they ask, I try to keep it very simple. Just an average guy. That's how I could describe myself.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Every one of us should separate between his work and his personal life at some time. يعني بالآخر نفسك لها عليك حق. Yeah. Dr. Obadah, could you tell us how did your journey go from medical school to specializing into structural cardiology?
So, أنا خريج الجامعة الأردنية سنة 2015. My idea of going to the US was not really clear. اللي صار إنه سنة رابعة I went to a lecture cardiology, وسنة رابعة وسادسة بداموا مع بعض. فأجا طالب الله يسهل عليه قاعد جنبي سنة سادسة كان معاه كتاب الفيرست ايد. ما كنت عارف شو الفيرست ايد، ما كنت عارف شو ستيبس، ما كنت عارف شو أمريكا، ما كنت عارف كثير أشياء ما كنت عارف. فصرت أسأله يعني من باب الفضول إنه شو الكتاب مكتوب عليه first aid. حتى I thought it was something for ACLS, BLS يعني that's how off I was. He explained to me what it was. فقلت له طيب what do you advise me to do? And I think this is the lesson I learned, and I always try to tell people, and this was 13 years ago, 14 years ago, and I still remember this lesson, and is try to learn from other people's mistakes. And I think the biggest thing he told me, as we were talking, is لو يرجع في الزمن, I would have done steps sooner. تخيل هي السنة السادسة يعني مش متأخر. And so قلت له طب أنا شو أسوي هلا؟ فقال لي روح جيب كتاب Kaplan Pharmacology ادرسه then come back. والله رحت على المكتبة جبت كتاب Kaplan Pharmacology. بعد شهر ونص خلصته رجعت له قلت له خلص. قال لي روح جيب Physiology BRS. رحت على المكتب اشتريت Physiology BRS خلصته ورجعت له. قال لي روح جيب Microbiology. ضلينا زي هيك, and by 8 months I was done with all the books. Again, لسه موضوع أمريكا is not even يعني it's not registering زي ما بيحكوا. فبعدين قال لي اوكي هلا حرام انك تضيع كل اللي سويته وما تروح تقدم امتحان. So and so that's what I did. يعني I took my steps during medical school. كنت أوزع يومي نهاري إني أروح الجامعة أدرس steps بالبيت, وبعدين أروح مكتبة كافي شوب إشي زي هيك وأدرس للجامعة, عشان للأسف مواد الجامعة تختلف somehow عن مواد الستبس, وإذا ما درست الشيت الفلانية للدكتور الفلاني ما رح تعرف تجاوب حتى لو كنت دارس مليون كابلن أو مليون كتاب تاني. I had to do that. So كنت إذا بدي أدرس 5 ساعات أدرس 2.5 ستبس بالبيت 2.5 للجامعة عشان أنجح. وبعديها قدمت رحت سويت امتيازي بالمدينة الطبية. The reason I did that was إنه when I applied I wanted them يعني يوم يسألوني okay what are you doing now أقول لهم internship, يقولوا لي وين, يعني كل احترام لكل مستشفيات التانية بس أقول لهم بالزرقاء رح يكون لي وين هاي you know. فتحكي لهم فرضا King Hussein Medical Center or whatever in the army, يعني it had a little more power to it. that's what I did يعني, وخلالها كنت أطلع to interview. The interview process again this is back in 10 years ago. فشوي هلا there's more يعني هلا في عندكم cardiology interest groups. I had no one يعني كان I was just going figuring things out. I didn't even know connections was a thing. يعني وقتها ما it wasn't as it is now. I went, did the interviews, figured it out on my own. Then I matched at Marshall University, باطني, 3 سنين. خلال 3 سنين I did a chief residency as a 3rd year, alhamdulillah. وبعدين I matched University of Cincinnati قلب. I did chief fellowship, chief fellow سنة ثالثة. وبعدين I knew I wanted interventional. I matched at Henry Ford for interventional and mechanical circulatory support, which was a phenomenal experience. I didn't know if I wanted structural. This is where it got really tricky. But eventually I did apply after a lot of thinking back and forth for structural, and I ended up, subhanAllah, matching down at Dallas and at Baylor, and I liked it so much, and they liked me, so that I stayed, alhamdulillah. So that's a very short version.
Indeed, that's really inspiring. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. Dr. Obadah, could you walk us through a typical day in your life as a structuralist?
Wallahi, there's no such thing as a typical day. The day could change in a matter of seconds. I don't have 2 identical days. Yani the students that have come and rounded with me, they always ask me, tomorrow where are we here? I've never taken them to the same place. There's just no 2 similar days. But if I wanted to start this next week, Farad, on Monday I have a meeting. We do a TAVR meeting. So every Monday at 7 a.m., all the surgeons, all the structuralists, we all meet, the researchers, the imagers. The imagers, only people that did cardiology, then they did an additional training in imaging, CT, cardiac MRI. We all meet, actually, and the nursing staff, and we review every single TAVR case for the week. And so we do on average about 15 TAVRs a week. So we do an average about 15 TAVRs a week, And so on Monday morning at 7 a.m., we actually between 7 and 8 a.m. review every single TAVR for that week. And we review the valve. What valve are we going to put in? The type of valve, the size of the valve, what is our access? Are we going to go from the femoral approach, from the carotid approach, auxiliary approach? And then after that, if they usually are prepping the TAVR patient, so if they may have the first TAVR ready, so then I go down and do my TAVR. Then once I'm done, I go either round or whatnot, and then go back do my second TAVR. So it's just doing TAVRs and anything in between. Sometimes it's not TAVRs, it's mitral clips and tricuspid stuff. So, but it's usually the similar day. The next day we would go to clinic. So I have morning clinic half day. But then the evening clinic, which is very interesting, I've not seen this anywhere else, actually, حتى بأمريكا, we have a valve clinic, but this valve clinic is different. So we have two surgeons, we have structuralists, we have the imagers, we have the research fellows, the research department, the nursing, the structural fellows. We all sit in one big room that has 3 big TVs in it. And one structural fellow runs the CT, one structural fellow runs the echo. The imager's right there to give us his input about anything. The structuralist there, the surgeon is there, the surgeons are there. And so what happens is the patient comes in at 9 o'clock in the morning, and from 9 o'clock, they start getting the workup. So let's say this is going to be a TAVR. So this is usually on Thursday. On Monday, on Tuesday, it's mitral tricuspid valve clinic. On Thursday, it is aortic pulmonic. So بيجي المريض الصبح الساعة 9. They get CT scans, they get pulmonary function tests, they get lab workup, they do a walking test, they do mental test, they do all this tests. It's like a bombardment of tests for 4 or 5 hours of testing. Then we sit down as a big team, and then we start going through each single patient and review all the results, and we make a decision on the spot. This patient is going to go for TAVR, mitral clip. This patient will benefit more from surgery. And so we do that. So the thing is, the patient بيجي على العيادة حوالي 7-8 ساعات, which is unheard of. I don't think anyone's بس the idea is المريض مش ضروري يروح يجي for every single test, right? فبيجي من الصبح وبس يروح بكون عنده a final decision of what he's going to have وموعد العملية that he's going to have. So بيجي يوم نهار كامل and he gets all that. So sometimes it rotates who's in the clinic, and so some weeks me, some weeks other people. And then there's a structural clinic day for the other stuff, and just coronary, complex coronary. So every day is very different. And then if you're on call, you could be in the middle of all this and you get a call for a STEMI, right? And then there goes your day. But that's a rough version of how the days usually go.
That's very interesting. It really gave us a clear picture about a life of a structuralist. Dr. Obadah, you served as an associate course director of the Dallas PCI conference. How was it? Could you tell us more about it?
Yeah, the Dallas PCI. That was a very unique experience, to be honest. I didn't even know there was pictures. So the Dallas PCI was a very, very unique experience. I'm only not even 1 year out of training, so to be offered that opportunity was amazing. And it really showed me how much work it goes into making a conference, right? We all go to conferences, we present at conferences, we talk at conferences, but you actually never really appreciate how much work goes into planning, how much work goes into making sure everything is running smoothly, how to market it, how to get the word out there, how to get people to show up, how to convince people to show up. And so it was such a unique, humbling, growing experience. I grew a lot. I learned a lot. I networked a lot, which is more important. And you really want people to benefit from it, right? We did day number one, we did a fellows training, and by fellows, mainly fellows, but we had residents, we had medical students from Jordan. We brought people, but and they got really hands-on training because again, in America, there's so many conferences. There's a lot of fellows training. So we wanted to make this somewhat different, a uniquer experience, people that really do remember. So the fellows training course was, I think, one of the best. I've attended a lot, but I think hands down, not being biased, this was one of the best because we actually brought equipment, a lot of it, and we let them practice with every single equipment that we use in the cath lab. And so it was a full hands-on. You think conferences run smoothly, they don't. I'll give you an example. I'm moderating a session, and you think you have a schedule, but Dr. Fulani, his flight, he wants to leave early, or his flight's kada. This person's flight's delayed. This place, and you have to. It's a dynamic. It's constantly changing, and you have to deal with it without خلي حدا يحس عليك. And so in the background, you're like texting different people, making sure that they're texting you so and so's delayed. So now you, the moderator, like Muhammad right now, is like you have to be in front of, and you have to do this in front of everybody, and they can't sense it from you. So that was such a unique, eye-opening, growing experience. But next year it's September 11th through 13th. So I highly advise you guys to come. We do sponsor. So I just throwing that little bit in there. But yeah, it was such a unique experience, man.
Congrats for you and to the team. It must have been an amazing experience. So thank you for the invitation.
I wanted, before you go to the next one more thing, Muhammad, is actually to show you how detailed this thing is. So we had live cases, right? So you have to time the people that are in the hotel. You have to time that with where you want that person to be in the cath lab and where he reaches in the case. كيف يعني the camera is going to turn on in the cath lab at 2:00. So you also have to time that at 1:00 the patient has to be in there. And they have to get access. They have to start working to reach a certain point. And you have to time that with you at the hotel, doing the lectures. And so it's such a very complex dance that happens. But again, it's not a one-man show, though. There was five of us. Everyone was in charge of something, and we helped each other out because there's no way one person could do this. But I think overall it was a successful conference.
Yeah, indeed, it was a challenging experience. Let's switch the gears to the next question. We got this question a lot, actually. Dr. Obadah, what do you like most about cardiology? How and when did you know that cardiology was the right choice?
Oh boy, I get asked this question a lot. So the way I got into, I think cardiology chose me. I didn't choose cardiology, if that makes sense. So when I was living in Jordan, أنا أهلي كانوا متغربين, so I lived by myself. Like I said, بروح الصبح الجامعة, I come home, I study for steps, I go out, I study for الجامعة. And then what I used to do is at night, I used to actually go and spend, 2 hours with my grandfather. And so every night I would go and spend 2 hours with my grandfather. And so we would sit there, we would talk about random stuff. He would give me advice. He would tell me about, my great grandfathers, how we, أصلنا إحنا دوايمة, like he would tell me about the Dawaime, the village, and it was such an amazing bonding experience. I remember he would tell us, sometimes he would put on uh, Kulthum, and he would start explaining to me like every single person in the band, because أنا ما كنت فاهم أصلا شو مين Kulthum. And so it was such a unique experience. The problem, though, is over the years he started developing heart failure. And so imagine every single night I would go maybe 5 times a week and spend 2 hours with him by ourselves. My grandma would be asleep. There's no one else in the house. It's just me and him. And over years. And then he started developing heart failure, and I think he ended up having a multi-vessel CAD. واللي صار انه they offered him open heart surgery. He didn't want open heart surgery, and no one could do the complex PCIs at that time. And anyway, so as you would imagine, ischemic cardiomyopathy occurred. So it transitioned to me spending a lot of time taking him to physicians or taking him to the hospital, admissions to do diurese him, to give him IV diuresis. And every time a cardiologist walked in the room, he would look at me and say, I want سياسية بدي إياك تصير تكون زي هذا الدكتور. And it just every single time. And I think that the main triggering point, and was when we would take them sometimes to the hospital, a common sentence that I heard was يا حج شو ضل بالعمر, right? إنه مر أكثر من اللي ضل. That I heard that so much, and الأعمار بيد الله. But what upsetted me is you labeled him. خلينا نحكي. And so so then زي ما تحكي, it was chosen for me. It chose me. I didn't choose it. And I think that was the main reason I decided to proceed to continue to sub specialize, to the point that now I do complex coronary PCIs, I do CTOs, I do retrograde CTOs, and then that was one of the reasons why it pushed me to do structural, right? Because الطلاب اللي داوموا معاي, they know that my average patient population is 90. That's like my average patient population. So when a patient comes to me and tells me, oh, I feel tired just because I'm old, my response is, age is just a number. And so I have a long hallway in the clinic. And so once this was last week, I do this with most of my patients. My favorite clinic is the clinic. Actually, my favorite day of the day of the week is my clinic where I see my post-procedure patients. يعني عملنا لهم procedures وجايين after procedure to see me. And I stand there, and the students are standing behind me, and we're looking at this 92-year-old walking down the hall, running down the hall, right? And where a week ago he was telling me he can't walk from his bedroom to the kitchen. And all it took was a couple mitral clips or a TAVR valve or a fix to the tricuspid or whatever it may be. And I always tell the students, just quality of life also matters, right? People think it's quantity. Quantity doesn't matter. If you live 100 years, but you're miserable because you can't breathe, you can't go get your water, or you can't, what's the purpose? Versus, so quality of life matters. And I think that's my biggest motivation. I mean, that's what motivated me to do what I do now. And one of the examples is, and I think some of you have seen, like on my stories or whatever on my Instagram, that I still have pictures of my grandfathers in the office, just to constantly remind me of why I chose what I do. So I got personal, man.
Yeah, that's truly inspiring story, Dr. Obadah. Thank you for sharing such a personal story with us. Let's move to the next question. Dr. Obadah, structural cardiology is a relatively a new field. What made you choose it? I know you talked about it. We want to hear more about it.
But here's the thing, right? You have a patient. Name me one other field. There are. I'm not gonna bombard the other fields, but here's the thing. Like, someone comes to you and they cannot breathe. They cannot walk two steps, they have to take a rest. And all you have to do is go in there 30 minutes, put a valve in, and immediately you see the color back in his face. They go from white. I've seen patients on the table go from pale white to complete, regular human color. And then they're back playing with their grandkids. And so, even though interventional cardiology is amazing, but interventional cardiology is amazing when it's for STEMIs, right? Because in STEMI, if you don't go in and you don't, yeah, there's a big chance the patient will die. But structural cardiology is even more unique in the sense that the result that you see is immediate. And that is just so rewarding and so satisfying how you could impact people's lives. You take someone who people have labeled that nothing could be done, and this happens a lot. And I get a lot of referrals from cardiologists and the patient would tell me the cardiologist said there's nothing to be done. And you take that guy and you do something to him, and then the next day this person is out with his grandkids, with his family, with his kids. It's so rewarding. It is so satisfying. It took an extra year of training, right? And we've trained a lot. At some point, you just want to stop training. However, the impact, the gratitude, the sense of happiness that you get from changing someone's life like that and that quickly is amazing. I don't think anything else or any other field could comprehend something like that. And not only save their lives, because again, you have to remember 15 years ago to do a TAVR, there was no such thing as a TAVR. Patients needed to get their sternotomy. And so someone that's high risk, who's on the verge of death, they would tell him, you're high risk for surgery, we can't do anything. Send them home with palliative care. So the patient goes home and dies, where now you could bring the sickest. We have patients, I had patients that were literally and they were going to die. If one more hour, they would die in the hospital. And then you rush them down and you put a valve and the next day they're walking. Like, I don't think anything else could comprehend to that.
Yeah, exactly. Who was thinking the last 10 years that we will be able to change a valve within 2 days and the patient goes home? That's what's exciting about structural. It's a dynamic field and evolving rapidly. How do you think it has changed since you started your journey, and where do you see it heading in the next 10 years?
So it's changed a lot. I know when I started cardiology, and this is 2019. So I'd started cardiology 2019, and since then they were doing TAVRs only. TAVRs were more done on high-risk patients. The sheath was 22 French, so the hole was very big. Mitral would take about 4 or 5 hours, one mitral case. Tricuspid was not even a thing. Electrosurgery was barely in its infancy. So just in the last decade, the sheath size has dropped down to 14. We do it on sicker and sicker patients. Now we do it on low-risk patients. So Bedarijik Marid, who's low risk for surgery, he's healthy, and you offer him actually a TAVR. Mitral clip surgery now, it takes us about an hour. Where it used to take 5 hours. So you used to do 1 a day. Now we do four a day here. And tricuspid now is a big thing. The tricuspid technology has evolved. So just in the last 10 years, it has evolved in a way, because at the end of the day, you or anyone else would say, do I really want my chest cut open, or do I want someone just to go through a tiny hole through the leg, right? Like, at the end of the day. Now, I'm not saying that there's some halat lazim, it has to go through surgery. We can't fix everything. But that's the new trend. I mean, that's where everything's going. And so it has evolved considerably, and I think it's going to continue to evolve and evolve. And who knows? I mean, right now they're making smaller holes, actually, that is currently in trials, and we may start, there's so many trials happening now. Tricuspid technology has evolved. Mitral is continuing to evolve. And I think the aortic valve is actually gonna evolve. Maybe one day, we always laugh here. We say maybe one day we could do a radial TAVR. Who knows, man? So maybe.
Yeah, seeing the field's growth makes us more curious about how it might develop locally here in Jordan. Dr. Obadah, do you plan to return to Jordan to practice structural in the future?
Inshallah, yeah. I mean, I would love to one day to come back and be able to help people with everything I learned. Right now, things are still in the evolution phase. يعني كيف أحكي لك إنه هلا everything's still evolving. So, as an example, next week, here you get to grow with this, because once you go back, you ain't really gonna get the same growth, right? You have to come ready, but the mitral is still evolving, tricuspid is evolving, the technology is still evolving, and you have right now exposure to it. Companies here, if they like you and they think you're good, they start flying you out to test the new technology. Next week, I'm gonna go do some of that stuff. So it's amazing too. So right now, there's still plenty of growth. But yeah, man, well, at the end of the day, I would love to use what I learned to help people in my country and help those that can't even afford it, and who would never be able to have access to such technology.
Yeah. Your return definitely could boost the field, and we will keep the message ready anytime.
Appreciate it.
Lujain, I will pass the mic to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Muhammad. I'll be taking over now with the next set of questions. We're going to have questions mainly about residency and electives. So shall we start?
Yeah, let's start.
Okay, so what difficulties did you face during your first days of residency, and what's one mistake you made in training that you now consider a valuable lesson?
Oh man. So my first day of residency was not the prettiest. It was terrible. You guys keep opening up some memories I'm trying to delete. So first day of residency was so bad. I showed up and I remember I went to the room and I got handed, I don't know how many patients, a lot of patients, and I was told, go around, do your progress notes and discharge these patients literally within 30 seconds of walking in the room. So the problem I had is I didn't know what a progress note was, and I didn't know how to discharge patients. And I didn't even know how to do medrecs, because unfortunately during medical school they never taught us that, right? They taught us how to memorize, خد الكتاب ابصم سمع whatever, but no one actually teaches you the practicality. I don't know if it's changed now, but I'm just talking back in my day. And so when you come here in the beginning, you actually do get shocked, especially that I never did really a true, like انه انا على طول خلصت واجيت, يعني ما رحت على مركز الحسين ودوامات, ما سويت الاشياء that would have given you an idea. And I just went med school residency, and it was not pretty. My senior was not friendly about it, so he made me hear about it a lot. And I think that was that's one of the reasons I'm very protective of medical students, very protective of residents. It was just literally that experience with him that made me, I think, built into my character that I don't tolerate people picking on med students or seniors picking on interns or whatever it may be. They usually have to go through me. But yeah, so it takes some time for you to actually learn the system here. And it takes you about a good 3 to 6 months. I think by 6 months of my first year, I actually was more comfortable and finally understood what it meant to admit, discharge, see round, etc. But the first couple of days were just brutal. The biggest mistake, and I think this is not a mistake in medicine, I think is just an overall life lesson, is don't trust everybody, right? It's worse in medicine, I guess, because everyone's a type A personality and everyone wants to هذا بدي يجيب 19 من 20 عشان يكون أعلى من فلان. Like, you know, I trust me, I've been through all that. I have seen all that. And so, my biggest advice is don't trust everyone, but also I think the biggest life lesson that I used and it really worked is وَقْضُوا حَوَاجِئَكُمْ بِالْكِتْمَانِ. That is my biggest advice for everybody in this field. And trust me, it will. Once you do that, and now people are gonna say, "Oh, absar ish." I heard that too. Trust me. And I did all my steps. People don't know this. I did step 1, step 2, step 3, or the CS. I mean, step 3. I interviewed in America twice. I had to fly twice actually because I had dawam. So I flew, did interviews, went back, dawamed, and I came back and flew. And the way that people knew that I actually did all this through a Facebook post that I matched. For 3 years, not one person, well, maybe 2 or 3 people knew, but for 3 years, no one knew that I did step 1, step 2, CS, interviewed, and people only found out that I matched through a Facebook post. And it's not because, I didn't do it that way because kunt khaif or whatever. I did it that way because I saw other examples where people did announce what they were doing, and I saw the amount of hate they got from their fellow medical students. So what do I mean by that? So there's gonna be something you'll learn that Lujain Faradan wants to do this research study, or she wants to do this thing, and BG X Flan, and they can't do what Lujain does. They can't, like, even if they tried, or they're just being lazy or whatever. So what do you think is the next appropriate step for them? Is to bring Lujain down to their level. And so that's what you will frequently see. And so this med student they want to take the steps. And so some students, they didn't want to take them. They were too lazy to take them. They couldn't take them, whatever it may be. And they decided to bring those people down to them. And this could be applied for everything, whether it's research, whether it's steps, whether it's extra thing, whatever. And a lot of people, you will hear hate from people for, in the beginning, people were like shocked. A lot of people didn't believe that I matched. Some people hated a little. Doesn't matter. I always tell people, the students here, they know what the people that are around with me heard all this stuff before. Trust me, I talk to them. I give them a lot of advice. But my biggest advice for people that hate or people that بدهم يحكوا or whatever is I let my success talk for me. I never talk. I never respond. I don't care. You can say whatever you want. You could hate as much as you want on anything I've done. At the end of the day, my success will talk for itself, right? That is the most strongest, most powerful thing that could respond for you. But I know, in short or summary, my advice is اقضوا حواجبكم بالكتمان. وصى فيها الرسول ان هي والرسول ما بوصي بشيء الا لانه لها فائده. And so especially in our field. وبآخر النهار حب لأخيك ما تحب لنفسك. حدا نيجي انبسط له. We don't have to be really competitive with each other. يوم تيجي أمريكا and you meet the medical students here, right? Because I go here and I lecture and I have med students with me. You don't see that a lot. You don't. And I'm not trying to hate or anything or make comparison, but all I'm saying is, للأسف, sometimes the environment puts us in this, cutthroat, Hunger Game level of an environment, and you think the only way to survive is you got to kill your fellow med students to survive, which is not the way to do this. All right, next question.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Obadah. It was a great advice. وفعلا هو اللي بيساعد الناس الله بيساعده أموره بتتيسر. Well, Dr. Obadah, what about, before we continue, shall we take a quick break to play a game?
Oh, okay. Let's play a game.
Okay, let me share my screen. We hope you like Mario. Doctor, can you please pick one? You don't see the screen?
I see the webinar screen.
Oh, okay. Okay, can you see now?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you please pick one?
I kind of told you my worst residency moment, so let's guess the country.
Okay.
I think most of us want to hear more about your moments through your residency journey. So
Okay.
I hope we might have enough time to do both.
So, residency, man, you guys are really digging down in there. So to go on, I'll give you
Worst
a little
residency
more.
or?
Yeah, we'll do the worst residency moment.
Okay.
So
it's going to take a moment to open. Okay, Dr. Obadah, we have here a list from the worst things that could happen during residency. We're going to rank them from worst to less terrible. Okay? So shall we start?
okay.
Okay. So would you rather getting a quick question from the nurse at 2 a.m. or getting an admission at 5 p.m. when you're about to sign out?
Oh, definitely 5 a.m. I feel like that's the worst. It's not even a medicine thing. People think that's a medicine thing. I always say, like, imagine you have a مطعم ويجيك زبون قبل ما بدك تسكر 5 minutes. It's the same exact concept, right? You're gonna hate yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So would you rather get in a quick question from the nurse at 2 a.m. or your patient family says we've asked ChatGPT and
question at 2 a.m.
Okay, great. So like the ChatGPT one is worse or better?
It's better. Dr. Google.
Okay. Okay. So would you rather being on hold with radiology for 20 minutes or getting a quick question from the nurse at 2 a.m.?
Being on hold for 20 minutes sucks, actually. I'll put that a little higher. And ChatGPT make it number 4.
Okay. Okay. You finish writing a long note and the epic crashes. Where should I put it?
That's like number 1.
Okay.
That's brutal.
Okay, last one, your pager goes off the second you sit down to eat.
That one you're used to. That's probably above ChatGPT.
Okay, great. And I think we're done. Thank you so much.
All right, yo.
Dr. Obadah, would you like to add anything?
No. If you have a good co-resident, an admission that comes at 5, usually they will pick it up for you. That's how you know who's a team player and who's not.
Great. Thank you so much. So let's resume with the questions. Now we're going to ask some questions about electives. So the first questions, what do attendings usually expect from international students during electives?
Oh boy. All right. Yeah, I'm going to talk about me. I'm not in general, but for electives, you have to understand that physicians are busy. Like they're not there's not enough time in the day. And so respecting their timing, I think, is the number one biggest thing that you have to be very cognizant about. للأسف, and I don't know why, that the international students don't have respect for time. Like they just don't. It amazes me. Like you would think, and so even on electives, I have students, tend to show up late, or you tell them meet me here at this time, and they don't, and it amazes me. And my biggest thing is, if you don't respect my time, you don't respect me, so then I don't respect you. And people don't understand that. And I think that's one of the biggest things that unfortunately, medical students don't really understand when they come to electives. That if you're not there 10 minutes before the physician, you're technically late. And I've had med students tell me, well, دكتور أنت مرات تيجي تتأخر، يعني تخيل مرات الوقاحة كيف بتوصل. And so, yeah, you're comparing someone who's getting a million phone calls, STEMI call, this and that, to someone who's literally just here for an elective and has nothing. And so, like, it's unfortunate, but now, like, whenever I accept med students or whatever, it's so unfortunate that the first thing I have to say is, you better not be late. And rather than just be like, oh, you're a med student, you're educated, you're wise, you understand how things work, you're going to be here on time. And so, that is, I think, one of the biggest things I hate is out of our med students is, why do they show up late? I don't have an answer to it. I'm not saying everybody, haram. There's some people that never were late, but the majority of medical students, للأسف, when they come to elective, and I've heard this from other physicians, is they have no respect for the physician's time. And so that's one. Number two, the other thing that I hate is for med students, again, and it goes back to, again, so for example, I take students when I can, and I know I'm going to get some questions about this later, and I'll talk about it, but I take it for free. Like I don't charge anyone. I don't ask for anything. I don't ask for nothing. This is just me giving back to the world, and so I have no gain from it besides doing good. And then you have the students that the student would show up and then has no interest of being there. So why is he there? Because he wants a letter of recommendation, right? And so I always tell students, if you want a letter of recommendation, man, just stay at home. I promise you, I'll write you one from here. Like, don't come here and waste my time. And so if you're going to do an elective and your sole purpose is a letter of recommendation, it will show. It will show. There's students right now that rounded with me that I invite to conferences. I sponsor them. I have developed actually a really close relationship. They call me whenever. Like they call me more than my family, just to chat. Like, oh, how was your day? What'd you do today? Students, right? And that came actually from how involved they were, how they wanted to learn, how they really were here for the right reasons. They were not here just for a letter of recommendation. And so those two things make a difference. Not being late and being actually involved, being really in there, like knowing when to ask the questions, really wanting to learn. I had students, honestly, students that knew more about an echo than some residents by the end of the rotation. Like I was shocked, because they were really involved and they were there for the right reasons. But the students that came late, or the students that are there just because they want a letter of recommendation, and they're sitting in the side of the clinic, or they're sitting on the side and all they do is they're on their phone, right? Even if I wrote you a letter, How strong do you think that letter is going to be? So you came and you paid money and you did this and all that for what? Just a weak letter, right? And I'm just saying me as an example, but this is applied to everybody. And so you have to be very careful. Just because someone gave you an elective doesn't mean that that was a successful elective. Doesn't mean that person that you network, because some people say, I just go because I want to network. Oh, okay. Doesn't mean that. On the contrary, you probably shot yourself in the foot because now, like, if you reached out to me and said, Doctor, تقدر تساعدني تحكي مع فلان? No, because I know I'm not going to put my name on the line for you. There are med students that I'm willing to go and fight for. And so just make sure you're from that group. And you know, the last reason you're there, is the letter of recommendation. That should be your last reason, because if you are a good student that shows up on time, that is prepared, that knows what is happening, that's not on his phone, right? That's like another thing that really kind of gets to me. Like you're in clinic and you're reviewing stuff, and like what do you do on your phone? I mean, like you could watch reels somewhere else, right? And so, you know, if you just don't want to be that, because at the end of the day, we have so much going on that bringing you on, for me, for example, like I said, I get nothing from this. If anything, it is more of a headache for me, to be very honest, because my schedule is busy, and here you're still trying to like teach and do this. And so when you see someone who's of that category, then you're like, you know, yeah, you don't want to actually teach them anymore. It's like them, yeah, they're not there. And so you just got to be very careful when you do electives.
Thank you so much, Dr. Obadah. We're so sorry that you had to go through these type of students. That's actually embarrassing. Can you please add more of the do's? Like, what should we do during electives? Like, okay, I'm showing interest. Then what? Like, if you have any advice.
Prepare. You know, like for me, for example, I'm a cardiology clinic. You know, do some reading. If I say tomorrow we're going to go do a mitral clip, go home, watch a video. YouTube is packed with animations. Yeah, you know, show me that you really are, you know, preparing for things. You know, and do things outside of the box. You know, you know, the more prepared you are, the better. Again, I'm not expecting people to be cardiologists. That's not why they're here. I'm just providing them with exposure. Little things here and there, you know, be smart about when you ask your questions. There was one med student, again, see, you start remembering the good ones, and then you start comparing, because with time you start comparing. But there was one med student, and he, you know, I respected for him. He had a notebook, and he wrote every question on the notebook. And then he would come at the end of the day or whenever and sees me saying, says, Doctor, and then he would ask me all the questions. Compared to students where I would walk out of a 4-hour retrograde CTO and I'm exhausted and like I've not even taken my lid off. Doctor, it's like you gotta be very smart when you ask the questions. It all goes back to, I say, emotional intelligence. You gotta be emotionally intelligent. And if you lack emotional intelligence, it's a problem in general, not just for electives, but you know, but that's pretty much it. Showing up at time, respecting the physician's timing. And again, I'm not saying this for me. I hear a lot from my colleagues. And the other biggest thing is if you're there with a physician, you know, don't try to be getting electives with other physicians. Like, this is something I've heard other doctors complain to me about, like where a physician would show up and he still needs another elective, and then he gets word that this student is going around talking to other people, accessing areas that are not supposed to be accessed. You know, you have to be very careful, because I'm going to tell you something. One student could ruin the entire thing for everybody else. Just one. I know one doctor who used to do this, and he stopped because one student decided it was a good idea to take a badge and walk around and access areas to try to ask other physicians for an elective. And he ruined it. He no longer takes anyone, because بالآخر النهار it's مسؤولية. You know, أنت هون صح بس مسؤولية على الطبيب. And so one student بدي يخربها على الباقي. All it takes is one, and that's why like you have to be, you know, very careful with this. And the worst thing you could do is fly all the way here, pay all that money, and then you're remembered for the wrong reasons, and then you're told that no, you're not going to get a letter of recommendation, right? So anyway, you got to be smart about the electives.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Obadah. Another question is, when is the right time to ask for a letter of recommendation?
I think, in my opinion, if you show up and you do all the right things, I'll give you examples. There's students I've had that I actually told them, do you want a letter of recommendation? I've told them. They didn't ask me. I told them because I was like, man, like, this guy's doing an amazing job. I really want to write him a good letter. I swear to God, I have students, I offered to write them letters. And so, again, the letter of recommendation will come, I promise you. It should be the least of your worries. If you're there for the letter only, you're there for the wrong reason. But if you're there, you show up, you're part of the team, you're learning, you're asking the right questions, you're not causing trouble, etc. Trust me, if the physician doesn't mention it, then you could just ask for it 2 days before you leave. Like, you know, I'm almost done, because you're in a good place then. But don't ask for it from the beginning, man. Like, because I don't know you really, so ask about it before you even show up, which I've seen.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Obadah. Those were really great insights, and I will hand it back to Muhammad right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's definitely a great tips. Shifting gears a bit to mentorship. Mentorship is a crucial part of our development as a future doctors. We often hear different advice about it. I want to ask when and how we should choose a mentor. What qualities should we look for? Additionally, what should we expect from them?
So mentorship, in my opinion, is not limited to one person. And every phase of your career, you will have actually a different mentor. So when I was at 4th, 5th, 6th year of med school, I had that friend of mine, the 6th year student. He was actually my mentor. So my mentorship started off with a 6th year medical student. And then when I went to residency, I had a certain physician that was a mentor. Then I went to another residency. I wanted intervention. So then I had an intervention. So actually, in my career, I probably had 10, 15 mentors. And now, as someone who's in practice, I have actually other mentors that mentor me, that I'm not afraid to call and say, hey, I don't know what to do here, or this is my plan. What do you think? Nothing wrong with that. And so mentorship, it changes from phase to phase in your career. And choosing the right mentor is important. And you know, but you have to understand that people are busy. And this is the biggest problem I have, is I get a million messages. I try to help as much. I try to do as much, but then it takes a week to organize a meeting for something and to give feedback or whatever, because it gets very busy. So just keep that in the back of the mind. You know, be prepared when you go talk to your mentor. Ask them for real advice. You know, know what you want to ask for. Every mentor I have had, I will call, and don't call your mentors just for mentorship. There's nothing wrong with, you know, I still send my old mentors text messages. It's a sign of appreciation, right? They took time out of their day And so whenever, something happens with them, something comes around, or hey man, just saying hi. Whenever I travel to conference to see some of them, I text them. So, but it is very important to have a good mentor in your life. And by the way, mentorship is not only physicians. So let's be very clear. You could have mentors that are non-physicians, because a lot of what we do does not even require having, the mentoring from a physician. He could tell you what to do, etc. Like my biggest mentor was my dad. So that's very crucial to understand. Mentorship is not tied to finding another physician. And so I would call him every day with issues I had, and he would tell me what to do. And so that's just a very crucial part to keep out there.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Obadah. That's really gave us a clear idea. We have a question about the personal statements. What should we avoid in our personal statements, and what key points should we definitely cover?
Personal statements. My 2 cents on it is the first paragraph is the most crucial paragraph. So you get handed. So they gave me 15 applications. There's 15 personal statements. I mean, how am I going to remember who's who, right? And people don't understand that. So I feel like always the first paragraph is the most crucial paragraph. And, stating something that was vulnerable for you, personal, true, something that really impacted your career, and phrasing that in a first paragraph is I think will really help people understand who you are. So my first paragraph, actually, of all my personal statements was about the relationship me and my grandfather had. That was my first paragraph. I didn't talk about medicine. I didn't talk about anything. I just said what really is important for me in my first paragraph. And the other thing I would always say is tie the last paragraph to the first paragraph. So I talked about my grandfather. I did 3 paragraphs, and then I did a conclusion, and the conclusion ended with my grandfather, the last sentence, which kind of completed the circle of what I was trying to say. And I feel like that usually the ones I read that are like that are very powerful. Don't make it very long. I usually just keep it to 1 page, right? I think a good personal statement should be just 1 page long, and you should be able to get everything in there accordingly.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Dr. Obadah, could you share with us an example of a bad personal statement that you have read or something like that? Some people keep repeating the word puzzle solvers, solving puzzles, and such things.
That's like people that keep saying cooking in the hobbies section. Everyone cooks apparently. Loves cooking, and so again, you have to stand out. You really have to stand out. There are you read 15 personal statement, and everyone puts it's like a puzzle that I'm trying to solve, or it's like try to stand out a little. I can't really remember a bad personal statement on the top of my head. But like I said, those are usually the key factors for a good personal statement. Something true to you, first paragraph, connect it with the last paragraph. Don't make it long. Try to avoid what everyone just usually says. And it goes back to the hobby section. So I'll give you an example. In hobbies, every time I read a hobby section, a person will write, I love hiking, cooking, and traveling. Then you read the next one, and he says, I love cooking, traveling, and hiking. Then you read the third one, and it's just everyone put the same thing. Like, and again, I interviewed someone 8 years ago. So it's been 8 years. I've only seen him once during the interview. I still remember who he is. And the reason was the whole interview was we discussed long distance biking, because that was what he wrote in his hobby. Like, he loves long distance biking. And I was amazed, like, how could you bike from Ohio to Texas? Like, how is that even physically possible? And that was what intrigued me. And we talked about bikes. We talked about, the weight of a bike and what type of bike and how many breaks you take. And that was the interview. And 8 years later, I still remember him because he had something unique, and you have to find that unique thing about you and put it in there. Something that will have them ask you, right? And again, at the end of the day, you never lie. But you have to have, whatever unique hobby you have. Some people play the piano. Some people, have pets at home. Whatever it may be. Some people, you have to give details, right? You can't just say I have pets at home, or I have. Some people are actually truly good cooks. But I like the ones that I remember were right. I make the best chocolate chip cookie ever made. Like, they were so specific of what they knew how to cook, and it's like, all right, tell me why is it the best? And so it leads to conversation, right? And again, at the end of the day, and I know this is not part of your question, but since we're on this topic, when you apply, you and thousands of people apply. You all have, and let's say you go to you apply to a program, they gave you an interview, you and 300 other people for 5 spots. So all of you got an interview, which tells you that you all passed your steps. You are now at the same level. يعني انت تعديت المرحلة اللي هي filtering. So now you're all at the same level. So the only people, that's very important in this level is how do you stand out from others? What's unique about you? What could you bring to the table? And I personally appreciate that a lot. Like, I like students, I don't want to say here, but there's students here that flew all the way to ACC, and they know who they are without mentioning them. And so that for me blew, it was like, whoa, like, that's commitment. That's something unique. That's something you don't see. And that's something that's outside of the box that medical school puts us in. And so that's, I know we're off topic, but that's very crucial to understand, because now you have time. You have time to develop your hobbies. You have time. And that's why I always say you have to take care of yourself. You shouldn't let med school control who you are. تعطي حقك للmed school, but you also have to take care of yourself, because that's very crucial also. You muted yourself.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's definitely true. Since we talked about the interviews for a little bit, so let's continue for the next question. The interview season is coming up. What are the do's and don'ts during residency interviews? And could you share examples, please?
I mean, it's the usual stuff. The do's and the don'ts. So if you're applying and you interview, important things, be well dressed, be well prepared, know your application well, and I always say, like, if you had an application and it has a lot of good stuff in it, and you want people to know that good stuff, I always directed it. Like, I always would answer their question, and at the end of it, guide it to a point where they were forced to ask me a next question related to what I wanted to talk about, right? If I did medical missionary trips, and I wanted to highlight that, and so that that's a way of doing that. You can't really screw up an interview. If you do, then there's a big problem. Like, show up on time, make sure you're prepared, like the usual basic stuff. But like I said, the more your application stands out, the better. The more the hobby section is more important than people actually think. Community service is actually more important than people think. Being involved in organization, being involved in interest group, going to conferences, going to medical missionary trips, all that stuff. People always think it's only research. It's not. Research just takes about 20-25%. And when I applied, I had probably 2 case reports. That's all I had. Like I had nothing, but I had a lot of community service, like a lot. Like I was very passionate about, giving back, and that kind of stood out in my application. So when you apply, everything gets a percentage. So you get a percentage for residency, a percent for research, or a percentage for your community service, a percentage for your medical school, your did you do electives, where did you do your electives, etc. So you get a percentage. So it's not one thing. There's not one thing in your application that says, oh, we're taking that guy. It's not. It's just a percentage, and it does the whole package look good or not?
Yeah, that's definitely true. Dr. Obadah, if you could back to medical school, what things would you change, and what would you do again and again?
I don't know, man. It's a tough one. I think the biggest thing in med school, for me is, and it worked out, is like, is take your steps earlier. Right, that's the biggest thing. I don't think there's anything else in med school that's as important as just try to not waste a lot of time after you graduate. Unfortunately, some people don't know then until it's too late, etc. But I feel like, in my opinion, is the medical school route is so the whole medical route is so long, right? From med school day one till last day of structural fellowship was 15 years. And if you spend more time after graduating here and there and there and there, that just becomes longer. And so I think that the biggest important thing is try to really figure out what you want to do. The sooner you figure out, the better. I don't want to give a time, because some people will text me, oh, what do you mean for 3rd year, 4th year? No. I'm not going to give you a time, but the sooner you really figure out what you want to do and start working on it, the better. But here's my 2 cents now. And the other thing that I would do differently is I would really take care of myself more. And that is something that is so lacking that it's crazy. When I think it was 10 years. So I turned 28 one day, and I woke up on my birthday and at 28, and I looked back 10 years, because it was a decade, right? 10 years, 28, we started med school 18, whatever. So it was 10 years since the first day of med school. And what I remembered was I sat there and I couldn't remember my hobbies. I couldn't remember the last time I went to a social gathering, how many weddings I missed, how many events that I did not do, things that I wanted to do that I couldn't, like I hadn't. So I became a prisoner to medicine. And that's why a lot of people who know me know that I fight that culture. And people see that through my stories, or they see that, and I don't do it I do it to motivate people to remember that at the end of the day, medicine is a humbling job. Mihni insaniya. People know the saying. A lot of people have heard this from me. طبيب هي مهنة إنسانية بس بآخر النهار, what is it? مهنة. There's not one person here that if they at the end of the day, you provide a service for a paycheck. And if they took away that paycheck, how many of you would actually provide that service? Honest question, right? But one for a week, and then he's like, oh, it's not going to work out, So that's at the end of the day, it's a humanistic job, but it's a job, and life passes you by, and so you don't want, and I actually did an interview at Dallas PCI for this. You don't want to turn 50, 60, 70, 80, be on your deathbed, and all you remember is medicine, right? You don't have that family bond. You don't have that bond with your parents. They grew older. You don't have any hobbies. And it's unfortunate, because that's the mentality that the environment that we get placed in medical school, they put us in that environment, and you forget everything else. but you have to really balance that out. Like, this is why, like, when you asked me the first question, I said, I'm just an average guy after work. I don't tell people I'm a physician. I meet new people every day, and I never say who I am, because that for me is at work. I'm done. Like, it doesn't provide, right now it's me wanting to really live life and enjoy the moment and travel and go to events and go to weddings and stuff that for 10 years I missed out on, right? Because you gotta study, if the بترسب مادة بتعيد السنة, and all that pressure that you get placed under, unfortunately. So just remember, at the end of the day, الطب مهنة إنسانية بس بآخر النهار مهنة.
Yeah, that gives us a lot to think about. Thank you, Dr. Obadah. I will move the mic to Lujane. Lujane, the floor is yours.
Okay, hello again. So, Dr. Obadah, would you rather to start with the Instagram Booksy questions, or should we play Guess the Country?
I'm assuming that you want me to choose Instagram Bucks question. I picked
No,
up on
whatever
this
you
one.
want.
Let's
No
do the
pressure.
Instagram Bucks question.
No, for real, like you can choose.
No, I chose Instagram Bucks. I'm curious what that means anyway, so let's see.
Okay, so they're like the questions from the story.
Okay.
Okay, so we got first question from KD. She asked, how did you keep yourself motivated during long years of training?
That's a good question. How do I keep myself motivated? Again, it's just a multitude of factors. One was I was doing it, for a personal reason, and then two, that's where a mentor outside of medicine is crucial. So I had a lot of phone calls with my dad, a lot. I mean, we talked a lot. And three, I broke myself out of that environment that we were in. So to finish the story about when I turned 28 and remembered all that, after that I actually took, أخذت عهد مع نفسي to, I'm going to take care of myself. So I went and I learned skiing. The next year I learned snowboarding. I went and bought pets. I started reading how to plant. I had my own garden. Like I just started doing the most random, unique stuff you could think of, because I just wanted to get as far away from medicine as possible. I started learning the Turkish language. I started traveling more, and so doing that actually made me happier and happy again of what I do. So it's just little things here and there. But I think overall, إذا بتفصل and you don't bring your medicine home, in the sense that you keep sacrificing for it, you will motivate yourself to continue.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm actually curious how you're skiing in Dallas.
Oh, this was before I came to Dallas. Now I can't ski because I worry about injuries. You don't want to get injured as a proceduralist. So I retired my ski racks.
Okay, wonderful. Next question. How do you balance your personal life and training, like during residency and fellowship?
Again, that was tough. Like I feel like I actually did fail during residency to balance, because I was so fixated at wanting, that environment that we're used to. Dr. Jam, I brought it over here, and I was just so fixated. So I failed. So during residency, I really don't feel like I did take care of myself as much as I should have. But now it's different. Like now, over the years, I've been able. I'm not saying like every day is a success story. It's not. Some days but when I get my time off, I get my time off. Like I completely disconnect, and I really do things that make me happy.
Okay, wonderful. So what is the toughest part and the most rewarding part about your job as a cardiologist?
The toughest part is when they wake me up at like 2 a.m. and having to come and do a procedure. Like this was like 2 days ago. I mean, and then the next day you have to work. I mean, that's always tough. But it's the most rewarding. So, going there is like, oh man, why did I choose this career? Driving home, it's like, oh my God, I just like saved the guy's life, and you can't even sleep because your adrenaline's still kicking, and so you just lay in bed waiting to sleep. So that is like that's it's an amazing feeling, like just how quickly it changes from you're driving there upset and then you're going home very happy. But at the end of the day, a lot of people find it very tough to balance between medicine and family. And I'm not talking about your parents. I'm talking about like marriage. And so a lot of people struggle. And I think that it would be the toughest part of medicine. And you have to remember that is very important. And this is and the reason I say that is there's a high percentage of cardiologists that are divorced, unfortunately. And it's because they haven't really gotten out of that environment, and they're fixated at their job, at their work and stuff like that, and ما about their family at home. But just something to be really cautious about.
Great, thank you so much, Dr. Obadah. Since everyone, as we can see, like we have lots of questions in the chat, and the students are really curious to ask you some questions. I'm going to leave it now to Rusan. So thank you so much, Dr. Obadah.
You're very welcome.
Salam, Doctor. Thanks a lot for now going to the chat questions. The first question will be with Dr. Ayham. He's saying, Doctor, you mentioned the importance of focusing on other aspects of life and not pressuring ourselves too much in medicine and isolating ourselves. If you had given time to those other aspects area in your career, do you think you would still achieve the same professional success today?
Yeah, I think I would have, because I changed in fellowship, early in fellowship. So I was known in fellowship as the guy that had a good balance, and residency I didn't, but fellowship I did. And I think I became more happier. And then when you're happier, you're more likely to achieve more, right? Because you're doing it for the right reasons. Whereas if you're miserable every day and unhappy, your productivity goes down, right? When you're happier, or let's say at a good place mentally, you're more likely your productivity goes up. And so if you find the right ingredients, it is actually very beneficial for your career. It makes you a joyful person, a very good person. People would want to hang out with you. People would want you to keep you around compared to just being miserable all the time, right? So I think, yeah, if you find it the earlier you find that, the better. And again, I don't want to say people are going to be like, oh, doctor, we have to study. I understand that. I'm not saying there's going to be days in the week where, yeah, you're going to have to pull those 12 hours or whatever. Yes. But at the same time, there are other days where you have to say, no, today's my day. Like this, I'm not doing medicine. And so it's just, you have to find that balance.
Just to break, to boost to the end of the week. So the other question is, when it comes to the community service that you earlier mentioned, for the residency application, does it need to be officially documented with certificate? It's enough to describe the experience on the CV?
You could describe it. I mean, obviously, any documentation is important. But if you describe it, like I didn't have documentation. I went to Honduras for my medical missionary trips, and I didn't have documentation. But the experience in itself is more than enough. When they asked me about it, trust me, my eyes lit up and I was happy and I kept talking about it. Like they could see that. They see the passion.
There's also a question about what would Dr. Obadah recommend to improve chances of getting acceptance and rotation in the US?
That one's a tough one. I don't have answers. I don't have solutions to all the problems. So here's the problem with the rotations. The problem with the rotations, there's a lot of medical students and there's not a lot of physicians. It's just, there's not. And so, for example, I take students but there's only a limit which I could personally do, because I also have to take vacation. I have conferences, I have other things. And so let's say my limit is 15 students a year, 20 students a year. I have 700 applications. So like what do you do in that situation, right? And so, and you know, you try your best. You know, you see if you look. You know, I'm trying to look for other people to start taking people to try to increase the amount of people we could bring. Unfortunately, there's a limit. I think, you know, the reach out. I think reaching out. You never know how it works. I have yet to crack the code for how to do that. It's just I know that there's a lot of you guys and not enough of places. But so yeah, I wish I had more for that.
Yeah, we know that you're just fantastic. Thank you. There's a question where the which subspecialty rotation, ICU, cardiology wards, and the cath lab during elective are most valuable for building a cardiology-focused CV?
Repeat that. I didn't hear the beginning.
Which subspecialty rotation, elective rotation, ICU, cardiology wards, or the cath lab would you choose to make to build a cardiology-focused CV?
It doesn't not. So at the end of the day, I'm an interventional structuralist, but students that rotate with me, they learn echo, they learn interventional structural, they round on the wards. So cardiology is a spectrum. It's not just one thing. So they see everything. Like, because at the end of the day, yes, I'm an interventional structuralist, but I still round, I still read echoes, I still do other stuff. So you get involved in that too.
What advices would you give the medical student to build a CV that makes him stand out, like community service, staff, or leading, etc., and how to choose the experience that matters, really matters for the acceptance?
Well, whatever makes them happy, right? Whatever makes them happy. At the end of the day, if you do something because it makes you happy, you're going to thrive in it. And if you do something, no matter how amazing it is, and you're not happy, you're just not going to really thrive in it. And so, you know, if research makes you happy, do more research. If going on medical missionary trips makes you happy, do more of that. We're all built different. There's not you know, I don't want to sit here and let people think, oh, this is how you should be done. It's not. This is me as a person. This is my character, my personality. This is what works for me. Do I like research? No. I don't. I mean, I'll be very honest, and I'll tell you honestly, I do not like research. Did I do a lot of research? Yeah, I did. But do I like more community service and doing that? Oh, yeah, I do. That makes me happy. I do a lot of that and helping whatever. And so again, what I'm trying to say today is what fits me as a person. So there's not really you know, قالب لازم هيك يكون الوضع أو not. Just do whatever makes you happy.
So it's about what fits you more, not what fits the program more. So you can modify it based on what fits you.
Exactly. So I mean, if you're doing what makes you happy, you're willing to travel. Again, I'm going to use you as an example again. Halfway across the world for 2 days for a conference, right? Like, if you do what you're happy. I had a friend fly out from UAE for Dallas PCI, but not because of me, because that's what makes him happy, going to conferences and participating, etc. So whatever makes you happy. There's some people I know that hate doing that. I mean, they will never leave. They have a family, but they are really good. Research makes them happy.
Since there's a big revolution with AI, what do you think about integration between medicine and AI, especially in cardiology? And how can we use it and learn it?
There is a big integration. There's a lot of changes that have happened, honestly, over the last year, where we use AI now in the cath lab. We use AI in echoes. We use AI in EKG. Hopefully, they don't replace us. And so, I don't. But overall, AI you know, anything in life, if you use it wisely, is good for you. If you use it terribly, it's not. But there is a big integration, and across it, and the wire that has sensors, and it will measure the pressure before and after, and it will give me a number. And if this number is less than a certain level, I don't want to get in technicalities. This lesion is significant. So any lesion between 50 and 70%, that's what you would do. And actually, before that, it was actually you had to give a medicine and do that, and then evolution happened where now you could just use a wire without the medicine, and now actually it came out where AI could just do that for you without even putting a wire down. And I honestly like it, because every time you put a wire down a coronary artery, there's risks. There's risk of clotting. There's risk of perforation. There's risk of air embolisms. There's risks. Every procedure we do, no matter how subtle it is, there's a risk with it. And people have lost their lives from just this one procedure. And so now, for example, if I do a case and I find a 60% blockage, and I'm really skeptical about it, is it significant? Is it not significant? I just use the AI that we have in our hospital, and it literally would calculate exactly what the pressures and everything is without me putting a wire down. It just needs 3 images. You take, there's a certain way to do it, but now that's where we are, where AI could do that for me. We're back in the, I still sometimes use the wire. Again, I'm not dependent on it 100% because without technicalities, but in the majority of cases, AI could do it for you. And so there is a big shift in it. And I think it's just going to get better and better.
Hopefully, inshallah, it's a double-edged sword, but as you said, when you can use it for better reasons. The other question is, in the new laws for the H-1B visa, how do you see this affecting IMGs applying for residency or fellowships?
Oh man, I am sorry. That one I have to pass on. I am not an expert in visas. I am not an expert in immigration. I am sorry. Wrong person. Hey, I say it when I don't know something, I tell you I don't know something.
The other question is, what is the advice would you say to the student to have fail in second year and already she's go to medicine school after 2 years when her friends go to it in the normal situation? So she now wait 3 years.
I didn't repeat that.
What is the advice would you say to a student have failed in second year and already she's go to the medicine school after 2 years? When they
she's behind her friends.
3 years. Overall she followed the path of her friend. She's 3 years older than behind the generation that last. Yes, she's 3 years behind.
Oh yeah.
Maybe she took a gap year.
Huh?
Maybe she took a gap.
Oh, well, so let me explain this. This is actually very interesting. So what you will learn in America is a lot of the students are they're in the end of their 20s and they're like in their 30s. You'll meet a lot of them. So the whole concept of, which also goes back to the environment that we get placed in medical school, that you can't, no gap in that does not actually exist here. I'll give you 2 examples. I had a lot of my medical students were all older than me when I was in residency, all of them. And one of them was a construction worker and then decided he wanted to do med school. So he came back to med school at 37. The oldest one I had was 54. The average people, they do their MCATs, they take a gap year and then they come back. People take 2 years. Some people do med school. So the whole concept is, I don't see that as an issue. Unfortunately, the environment that we are in makes it into an issue. But in reality, it's not an issue. A lot of people here actually do take gap years to go and travel, not to work on medicine. And so you actually see that more here than because people here, they're not in a competition. But unfortunately, the environment makes that seem like a problem. It's never a problem. I don't think being behind your friends or behind anyone, I think that's the pace that's chosen for you. You go with it. But a lot of people here, at least through the American system, they do take breaks, they take gap years, they go do other specialties. They'll say, I want to go work in this. I've always wanted to be a barista for a couple of years. Then I'll come back. Like, it's normal.
Oh, do you think that this gap years doesn't affect the match situation, or?
I don't think it does. If it's gap years after medical school, you will be asked about it. So anything after you graduate, you will definitely be asked about. So what did you do the last 2 years? What were you doing? And so this is why, in my opinion, choosing internship in a good hospital is important, or just doing stuff. Like, never sit at home is my point. You will be asked about those years, but other than that, I don't think is a really big issue.
The other question, if someone just want to do his training, then come back to Jordan without getting in practice in the US, do you think it does worth it? Especially from the financial aspect, since we hear about those high paychecks only after finishing training.
Repeat that one again. Sorry.
If someone just want to do his training, then come back to Jordan without getting in practice in the US, do you think it is worth it? Especially about
again, it depends on what you want in life ultimately. I know people that have done practice and gone back. In my opinion, if you've gone all this way to do all the tests and pay all that money and to do the practice, there is nothing wrong if you just did a couple years of experience. At the end of the day, training is one thing and experience is a whole different thing. But you got to think about it other way. I'll give you an example. And it's not for you. And people always forget, it's not for you. You got to think about your kids. And what do I mean by that? If you come here and you do 3 years after you train, so you trained, you graduated, and you do 3 years, right? You're eligible for a green card. And then you're eligible for a U.S. citizen. So why give up that opportunity? Now, some people say, no, I don't care about that stuff. Fine, I respect that. But it will really help out your kids in the future, right? And so that's one advantage. The other advantage, like you could make some savings during this time. And so when you go back to Jordan, you have money to open up a clinic, to open up a practice, to open up something. So again, I don't, everyone's يعني كل إنسان حر في اختياره بس يعني I think if you do all that work to make it here, why leave just before getting some of the benefits and some of the rewards? And again, and okay, you want to go back. So you could go work as a hospitalist. You will work 6 months a year. You work 1 week on, 1 week off. 1 week on, 1 week off. So you get a week off. So some people will just do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So you could spend 6 months in Jordan, right? Making a lot of money. And again, we're not doing it for the money, but I'm saying comparison-wise, you're making it for that paycheck, and at the same time, get the benefits of getting a green card and a U.S. citizen. So there's some advantages to it.
If you may allow me to ask, after getting this subspecialty, do you think that there's, if someone have a plan to get back to Jordan, do you think that there's a minimum limit of years that you have to do before getting back? For savings,
it depends on the specialty. So it depends on the specialty. I was referring to people who just want to do botany, but if you want to do a subspecialty, there's a lot of people that go back again. But in my opinion, at least, it depends. I could say like a minimum of 2 years, right? But then it takes 3 years to convert your visa to a green card. So it's like, why not do the 3 years, right? شو فرقت السنة زيادة, right? So again, it's a answer for a person to person, per each حالة يعني, you could say. But yeah, like يعني كمان اللي بسمع بيحكي الجوبز جاهز وبتستنى وهيك. No, it's going to take time to build yourself there or here. It's the same concept here, but there are advantages.
Oh, Doctor, do you have time for any further questions? I don't know.
Yeah, you can keep going.
Does the strength of an internal medicine program affect your chances of matching into a competitive subspecialty later on? How can we know if the program is right fit for us?
Does
They
the
are
what?
asking about the strength of an internal medicine program and the future subspecialty. Do they have a correlation between the strength and the subspecialties, specifically the competitive one?
Yeah, so obviously the more competitive a program, the easier it makes your life to get a fellowship. That's the honest truth. After COVID, a lot of hospitals open up residency spots. This is why now you're seeing 300, 400 people match, right? When they tell you 400 people match, yes, everyone's smart, good, but at the end of the day, the amount of rural hospitals that have open residency. So I get calls from people in areas I have never heard of. And they're like, oh, doctor, أنا مقيم بالمنطقة فلان. I have to Google it because even though I've been here for a long time. And that goes back to the amount of hospitals that have now open residency in very rural areas has increased. And this is why it has helped people match into internal medicine, but it's making it much harder for those people then to find fellowships. So it's a double-edged sword. As Zaman, on my day, back in my day, it was hard to get into internal medicine, but easy to get into fellowship because if you got into internal medicine, you got into a good program. But now it's changed. It's shifted after COVID where it's easier to get into internal medicine, harder to get into a fellowship because they open more programs. You're in a small rural program somewhere, and then you want to do cardiology. So again, the bigger the program, yes, the easier it makes it. Now, is it impossible? It's not. So it's not. If you do a good job, you do good work, you do an away rotation is what I usually tell people that call me. You're working on research. A lot of it is more harder at a smaller program, but if you do all that, it will help you and going to conferences, networking, etc. The point is you have to do more work. You have to put in more effort. But that's the shift that's happened between when I applied and versus when you guys are applying.
Okay, the two last question is how international graduates can apply for post-doc research position in the US, and what qualities or experience are most important?
I really don't have a lot on that question, to be honest. I've seen people just email different institute, email different physicians, and seen it worked out. And it's a good thing to have. However, I don't know, and this is a very humble personal opinion, so don't go saying, oh, Dr. Obadah haka. No, I just don't know if it's really worth it. I don't. Just my own humble opinion. I've seen people do it. I didn't do one and still matched. So because what happens is I see people, we have a research program here. And, at the end of the day, it's like if steps were going to take you 8 months, now they're going to take you a year and 8 months. Because when you do that, don't think it's a walk in the park. It's not mizay imtiyaz. If you do a research year, you are expected to publish. You are expected to go through data. You are held at a high standard, and especially if they pay you for it. And so a lot of people then have to delay their steps further and further and further. And then so it's like 2 years out, 3 years out, and now I'm playing for residency. And so I don't know. And now some people does it help your application? It does. It does. But is it like if you didn't have it, would you not match? Like, would you match if you didn't have it? Yeah, you still would match, in my opinion, if you had other stuff.
What do you think about the GPA? Is it important, and especially when it can compare with the preparing for the step, it might be affected?
GPA is important. It's asked for. They ask for your transcripts when you apply, so they do. They actually will ask you to send your transcripts. Again, it's the same thing like the research here. Like, does it really change anything? Not really. But like if you have a GPA I think it only matters if it's very low, right? If you have a very low GPA and your steps are low, it may kind of like be like, okay, wait up, let's think about this one. But like someone who got 4.0 and someone who got 3.1 for me does not really matter.
That's the end of the chat question of the audience, but we don't need to push more on you. But do you have any time for the Lujan getting us with the game?
Yeah.
Okay, Lujan, you have the mic. Sorry for
Okay,
the delay.
hello again.
Hey.
I want you all of you guys to join. I will share the screen. Can you see it right now? Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if you guys have your phones around, we're going to have a pen pop up here. So I want you to join using the QR code. Okay, anyone else want to join? Okay, let's start. So which North African country is the home to Al-Qayrawan University, which is the oldest operating university? Oh, ما حد جاوب. You need to be faster.
Maybe it's delayed.
Okay, should we try next one? So the word first cardiac catheterization was performed in what country? Okay, 15 got it right, which is Germany. So this country is the home to Big Ben. This one's supposed to be easy.
دور ساعة never been.
Dr. Obadah, you've been there.
Yeah.
Okay, great. This country has the Amazon rainforest and hosted the 2016 Summer Olympics. Okay, wonderful. Great job, Selma. So what country hosted the 2024 Olympics?
شباب وينكم؟
حسن ياكم احنا نعطينا الأسئلة يا حسن.
كفو سلمى. Oh my God, this is Hassan. سلمى شدي حيلك.
That's the feminism.
So this country's capital is Canberra. The answer is Australia. Okay, I guess it's the last question. So Ibn al-Nafis, from which country? And he discovered the pulmonary circulation. He was the first one to describe it.
It's not a country. It was not a country right there.
عديها
Sure.
دكتور.
Okay, this is the last picture, the last question. The world's largest Muslim population in what country?
وين الأردن؟ ليش مش الخيارات؟
Okay, the answer was Indonesia. Okay, هي أسماء اللي فازوا معنا. Congratulations. Congratulations غنى. خلصنا اللعبة. يعطيكم العافية.
That was a good one.
They're on go. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Obadah.
Thank you guys. That was a good one. We actually did that at Dallas PCI 2 years ago for the fellows. It's nice.
You did the game, like the Kahoot
Yeah.
or the...
The same game for medical questions.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot, Dr. Obadah. Let's wrap up this session, and we really appreciate your time. This session was enriched with the knowledge, love, and advices for students. You really was from the first moment you support us as individuals and groups. أسأل الله أن يجعلها في ميزان حسناتك. We really appreciate all of us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me, and I'm always happy to, try to help any way I can.
Yeah, Dr. Obadah, time truly flies. Discussions was really insightful. We really enjoyed our time with you. Thank you, really. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys,
Thank you so much,
do you
Dr.
want to
Obadah.
take a picture for the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. So guys,
Anyone, yeah, Woman. Go ahead, Woman.
Go ahead.
You're good. You're good.
Okay. So guys, anyone want to join the picture? Please open your camera. We won't count from 1 to 10 until you are opening your camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now smile, please, guys. Okay, we are done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you,
staying with
guys.
us. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Obadah.
Awesome.
يعطيك العافية دكتور عبادة.